All right. Welcome everybody to our RobotLab webinar for restaurant robots by RobotLab. Cedric, Heather, and Taco, you guys are more than welcome to turn on your cameras. People want to see you and meet you. And then Cedric, if you want to start introducing everybody, and welcome everybody.
All right. Thank you, Maria. Everybody, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. We are here in San Francisco, California, and ready to start this webinar about service robots for restaurants. Let me quickly start with some introduction. Just before that, the agenda of the day or this hour. So we are going to talk about RobotLab. We're going obviously to introduce ourselves. We're going to present you RobotLab. Who are we? What we do? Our areas of expertise. We'll dive into our solutions, the world of robots, and how robots can help restaurants. After that, we'll have a panel discussion with our hero today, Taco, who is.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Taco. We really appreciate you and the time that you are spending for this session, and we'll end up the webinar with the Q&As. So all of you guys are welcome to send your question in the chat box in the Zoom software or Zoom web interface, whatever is what you're using to attend this session. And this is agenda. So an introduction to the team. Heather, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thank you all again for joining. I'm Heather Raish, Director of Sales here, spearheading the hospitality industry. I've been a tenured resident of hospitality, born in it, came from the industry, went to school, Le Cordon Bleu, went into owning a restaurant, parlayed out of that, unfortunately, after losing my lease of 13 years. We all know about that story. Went over to Open Table Toast, went over to Restaurant Solutions, and find my way over to Pudo Robotics because I truly believe in the solutions that robotics is providing to restaurants. And I know Taco is going to speak exclusively about that. Super passionate about this industry, super passionate about what we're going to be providing. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you very much for this introduction. About myself, again, my name is Cedric Vaudel. So I am the Vice President of Sales at RobotLab. So I lead. I'm originally from France, Paris. So if you wonder my accent, this is where it's coming from. I moved 12 years ago, but as you can see, I still keep my strong accent. I hope you enjoy it. I started my career working for several in the technology world. So I worked at IB. I found out that my passion was about robots. And it's been now 14 years that I have my hands in robots. And as a matter of fact, everything started back in Paris. Robotics that got purchased by SoftBank Group. For those who know SoftBank, they are the manufacturer of the Now robots and the Pepper robots. Both are human robots. And I took part of this couple of projects. And I'm really specialized in service robots in general. Okay. However, my passion is essentially using robots to enhance the customer experience. Okay. This is really what wake me up in the morning and really make me like be like creative and energetic and passionate about what I'm doing every day. Okay.
The man of the hour, actually. Super, again, appreciate you being here. Why don't you let the audience know who you are? I think I made a wonderful statement on LinkedIn, and I think we've got some more participants because of it. Taco, take it away.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the time to talk about something that I really love. I started in the restaurant business in 1980, but I did not want it to be part of restaurants. And then all of a sudden, 40 years later, I'm still here loving it, and I have it in my blood. Started in technology. At the time, the IBM PC had just come out, and I was fascinated by it. So I wanted to have a career in technology. but all of a sudden the kitchen took me. During those years, I was able to participate in different companies that we created. One of them that I was more proud of it was called Susu Handmade Mexican Food, which was the pioneer on the fast casual industry. That one actually coined the term fast casual, naming the entire industry. Unfortunately, it was purchased by Arby's, which was the wrong partner, and it destroyed it in 6 months, whereas Chipotle's was purchased by McDonald's, and they did support it correctly, and it grew to be what it was. A few years later, with my wife, who decided to become that it was going to be just for cakes and desserts and coffees, and it was too big to be just that. So we started selling food, and before we knew it, we started getting awards and becoming a full service restaurant, and a number of them. Unfortunately, the pandemic came and turned everything upside down. We lost about 400 employees when the pandemic hit. And by the time we were able to reopen, no one wanted to work in restaurants any longer. So we were never able to fulfill those positions. Thankfully, that's when the robots
Wonderful.
came about.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to have our discussion.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next, chapter of this webinar series. Company founded in 2011, so we've been around for more than a decade now, and we are the experts in robots. Robots important. What we are not a manufacturer. That's not what we do. I used to work for manufacturers. I've learned the challenges of manufacturers before I moved to RobotLAB. RobotLAB, we are an integrator of robotic solutions. So what it means essentially is that we are partnering with companies manufacturing technology currently available. And you can go online. You can look for robots. You can look for food runners, bursting robots, customer service robots. The number of robots available is pretty overwhelming. So, and choosing a platform, it can be confusing for clients to really make the right decision. So we are here essentially to do this job for you and select. But not only that, on the top of that, we are also going to create the ecosystem of solutions around each platform to make it useful for our RobotLAB. Again, we have been present for more than a decade. We have different departments here, R&D departments, customer service department, extremely important, and sales and marketing department. We are worldwide. So we are global. However, our two main offices are in the US, one in San Francisco, where we're currently at, and the other one in Dallas, Texas. We love Dallas. Multiple industries, hospitality, banking, retail, education, healthcare. So, we are pretty much in any industries. And as I was at RobotLAB is to provide turnkey solutions, tailor-made solutions that will basically perfectly match your needs. So we are present in three different, I would say, verticals or type of robots. Number one is customer service solutions, solutions that are meant and designed to interact with humans, people, customers. The second one is cleaning robots. If you are looking at automating your cleaning process, we also have solutions for you. Okay. And on the top of that, for each of these solutions, we are able to include the robot itself, obviously, any type of software development if needed. I'll give you an example. If you want also to, let's say, to integrate your solution with a POS system, if you want to integrate your solution with an elevator system, if you want to command your robot from a smartwatch, all these type of things require obviously integration and software development. We do that. We do that for you. Okay. And again, the objective at the end of the day is to provide you a turnkey solution. You open the box, and the robot is ready to work. Okay? On the top of that, service is extremely important. As you might know, a lot of manufacturers are from Asia, particularly China. So it might be challenging for US customers to get any support, any decent English documentation and training. So we are basically the bridge between the manufacturer and our clients to make really the transition process and the, I would say, the deployment really, really smooth. Okay, so we provide training, we provide on-site installation and ongoing, I would say, support and repair if needed. We are also, we have a couple of repair centers that are certified here in the US. So we can also handle the repair here in the US. Okay. So really quickly, some of our references, as I was mentioning, I'm not going to go into the details, but we are present in, all the different industries, banking, hospitality, healthcare. So they, obviously more and more businesses are looking at robots to automate their processes. And that's what we do here with one type of solutions that we carry that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. This is about house solution and how house solutions can be used in restaurants. So here is one example with actually a robot that we have here. This is a robot that is essentially designed to interact with humans, to create engagement, to create some kind of like give to our clients. This robot is obviously fully programmable, so it can be taught like a real human to tell specific things to your clients. Now, imagine that you have Pepper at your restaurant. It's going to be staged at typically close to the entrance, greeting customers coming in. A robot, as you might know, is systematic in its approach and tireless. So it always will have a smile and a fun and happy attitude to greet people in, even after 12 or 13 hours of work. Can you believe it? It will be a little bit more challenging with humans, I can tell you. The robot can do multiple things for you. So I just, put some examples on my slide. So the robot could, manage reservation. It can manage wait lists. Okay, it can also answer FAQs or give directions. I'm waiting to get a table. I need to go to the bathroom. I'm going to ask Pep her finger at the bathroom and guide me. Okay.
Typically, it's where's the bar?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah. That's really good. Good example because the robot can actually help with upsells. Right. That's what you want to do at the end of the day. You also want to use the robot to increase your revenue. Okay, so the robot can be used to give directions to go to the bar while the customers are waiting, and maybe pitch a special drink. Okay, I love this cocktail. It makes my gears feel much better. So it can be that, or it can be just promoting to the special or give any type of recommendations. If we're talking about drinks again, are you more into like wine or cocktails? And so the robot can recommend different things. And at the end of an interaction, typically, if you want to also keep track of your customers and enroll them in a marketing campaign, the robot can help with that and tell them about I don't know, any type of like rewards program or newsletter, etc. Okay, so really the Pepper robot is here to assist your team and giving a unique experience to your customers. But it's not only about the novelty of it, right? It's also about being able to give a service to your customers that will be memorable. Okay, so this is about Pepper. We have another solution quite similar to Pepper, but except that it's what we call a soft robot. Soft robots are essentially avatars. They are digital characters that can do pretty much, the same thing as Pepper, except that it can be basically embedded in any type of devices. So talking about a restaurant, you could have this avatar being used on a large kiosk at the entrance of your restaurant, guiding customers, greeting them, assisting them to, sign in for to be on the waiting list. Okay, if it's crowded today, etc., etc. This avatar could also be used on a tablet. Let's say that I'm sitting down at the table and I'm looking at getting any like recommendations. Okay, so I can have a tablet on the table, and the avatar will, guide me through the menu and give me recommendations based on my profile. So I could create a user profile, and I could also have the avatar scanning the QR code on the table, redirecting me to the small digital avatar on the web browser on my phone, and I can directly interact with the avatar from my phone and maybe placing an order, and that will be connected to your POS system. Okay, so there are many things that we can do with it, but what I need to show you today is the potential, what's available today. Okay, what's the best of breed solutions available, and essentially it's humanoid robots such as Pepper and digital characters with the robot avatars. Okay. Moving to another type of solutions that we have is the delivery robotic solutions. Essentially here the design is pretty different because the main goal of this type of robot is just to be mobile and navigate autonomously. So typically, if we take the example of a food runner robot, the food runner robot is designed to deliver food or drinks from the kitchen to tables. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, and it's going to do it autonomously. What I mean by autonomously is the robot is capable of detecting obstacles. Those obstacles can be just, staying there, or they can be, moving around. So it can be like kids running in front of the robot and things like that. So obviously, safety is very important. The robot takes 0.4 seconds to stop and adapt its route before keep moving ahead to the point of destination. You have 3 modes available. Delivery mode, you send the robot to a table, build the experience. The robot can sing a song. And cocktail mode, if you have like a private party at your restaurant, it's not about the robot going to a point of destination. It's about the robot carrying snacks, drinks. In this mode, the robot is roaming around, and customer can just pick up stuff from the trays. You can also personalize the content. The voice of the robot can be customized. So imagine that the robot arrives at the table, say, how do you want the robot to communicate to your clients? So this is also customizable. And we have also other options available. The add display is a pretty cool feature on some of our models. 18.5 display that can do advertising while the robot is roaming around, which is pretty cool. And more importantly, this type of robot can operate up to 14 hours before it is, and again, systematic and tireless. It's all about robots. Burster robots are essentially pretty much the same as food robots. Although we're going to have design to bust tables, so we want them to be safe and waterproof, because the robot is supposed to carry dirty dishes and heavy loads of like plates, silverware, and cups, glasses. So essentially, to assist a busser that will load the dirty dishes to the robot, and then the robot will be sent to the kitchen. Okay? So the benefits of, first of all, is about improving staff efficiency. And I think we all know that right now in this market, staffing is a big challenge, right? So robots are wasted time and daily mileage run by your waiters. So robots can assist your waiters to do that, so that your team can really focus on taking care of everything works well, that they like what they have on the table, that they are enjoying the time, and obviously help with upselling and making sure that they are always available whenever a customer is expecting to order a bottle of wine. All right, we don't want to miss that opportunity. And obviously, with the robots, you count on a new, reliable, systematic, and efficient assistant. A robot that will always show up at work and will be systematic in its approach and efficient. The second thing really is the customer experience. Obviously you reduce the wait time. That's one thing, but also obviously by the uniqueness of robots, you really create like a unique customer experience, a wow effect with something that help with the brand awareness and create visibility locally. How many restaurants are we working with that the first day of opening with the robot, they have like tons of like local media people coming in, taking pictures, video, interviewing the owner. I mean, this ultimately, gives visibility and increase foot traffic. So it's really also a great opportunity for you. I just wanted to end this, part of this presentation with one example that I like to talk about. It's basically Kura Sushi. For those who know, Kura Sushi is a national brand. They are originally from Japan. In Japan, they have about 400 locations. They have about, I believe, 60 locations in the US. And we work with them to deploy this particular robot, the daily robots, to all the locations nationwide. So we are talking about a little bit more than 100 robots. And what's interesting about this use case is that they're actually not using the robots to carry meals or food, because these are the restaurants that have the conveyor belt to carry like, rolls and sushis on little plates to the tables. But they are using this robot to carry drinks to the table. And the reason why I like to talk about this use case is because something that is important about robots is also being able to offer a solution that is safe and with the right suspension, okay, so that everything is stable on the trays. And the best example is obviously to prove you that if a robot can carry drinks, then it's a success, right? And so they are only using the robot for drinks, and it's extremely successful project. No wonder why they decided to deploy it to all the locations. And I mean, the numbers talk by themselves. 14 hours of operations daily, 7 days a week. For this particular location, the robots are covering 5 miles per day. So that's, miles are run and time saved for the waiters, so that they can focus on other tasks. And also, obviously, it's 0 drink spill and 0 time of interruption. Thank you, robots.
Sitting on the robot.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so this is about Kura. We have many other success stories that we can share with you later on. If you're interested, just feel free to reach out by email. I want to just really quickly, before we go to our session with Taco, I just want to emphasize on that. As an integrator of robotic solutions, remember, we are going to select for you the best technology currently available. And coming from the manufacturer, what I always had this as a salesperson, this thing where I was saying my robot is the best, okay, and I was trying to convince or to fit my robot in a specific use case. And sometimes as a little kid, I was a circle hole, okay, but that doesn't work. So this is our role. We are going to qualify your project, understand your needs, understand the layout of your restaurant, how you want to use it, if you have a lot of flight, these type of things that we need to know to really recommend you the best solution. So there is not a one solution fits all. That does not exist, okay? We have a variety of models and brands available, and we're
Thank you, Cedric.
Absolutely,
Wonderful
my pleasure.
Presentation.
Thank you.
Taco, thanks again for joining. Are you ready and geared up for our
More than ready. And I've learned a couple of things that I will be calling you as soon as this is finished.
Please.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, let's just kick it off. The hospitality industry has changed over the last. What do you predict that will happen in the next 5
Well,
years?
if I knew, I probably wouldn't be in restaurants. But one thing I can tell you today, the combination and frustrations, because now the level of frustration that we experience of customers when they arrive, it's much higher than ever before. Their tension, their stress, their daily life is upside down. And therefore, you add being hungry to that equation, and it's explosive. So then you have a staff group that is overwhelmed by having to do the job of 4 people instead of having 4 people to do 4 different tasks, it already stressed everybody. Every day we go through the exercise of, first, did our deliveries arrive on time? Did we get what we ordered? Because now we don't get what we ordered. We order vodka and we get tequila, and the position is, well, if you don't take the tequila, next week there may not be tequila either. So you have to take what you get. You order chicken, you get pork. You order pork, you don't get the pre-challenging. Then on top of that, you don't know if all the cooks are going to show up or all the servers are going to show up. And those who do show up late, and you don't really have much more recourse because you can't replace them overnight. You can't replace them at all. So you are at their mercy. And that's when we start seeing this before the pandemic started, because we were already having very serious issues with staffing and very serious issues with the volume that we were doing in the malls and trying to find things. But the first deterrent was the excess systems. When the first time I was introduced to one of these units, which was about 6 years ago, it was a $150,000 toy, and we just couldn't afford it. Now they're in the 10 to 16,000, depending on the model and features that you want. And on a lease, well, it's a no-brainer how to deploy them. So these robots started to show up, and it started to do 2 main things, or maybe more, but let's concentrate on these 2. First, it assisted our staff. It assists our staff because it slows it down or frustrates them by not being able to help directly the customers, because they have a lot less time to interact with a customer, to the point that we're trying more of a brand ambassador and transferring the ordering function to the customer itself, so that they can order whatever they want, whenever they want. And now the robot is a lot smoother and a lot faster. That doesn't mean it's easier for the customer at first, because they've never experienced this type of interaction. But once they are, it's amazing what it can happen. We have customer restaurant, we transfer the order to their table. We fired the order after a server has checked that they didn't order 20 burgers by error. And if everything is fine, then the robot will bring it to their table. And it's interesting because it makes the experience even more intimate, because now you don't have somebody constantly asking what you need, or are you ready to order? Are you ready to order? And then inevitably, when you are ready to order, you can't find the server. So now it's at your own pace, at your own timing, and you can modify the way you want it. So that makes it very easy, but there is a learning curve. So that's from one side. Then the other side is for the customer itself. Yes, we have it all. We have customers that immediately understand, embrace, are fascinated by the whole thing. And interestingly enough, in our case, that group is either 14 years and younger or over 50. The groups that are in the 18 to 45, they look at it, they don't know what to do. They pull a camera or their phone and they start taking pictures, and then just look at it and don't know what's going to happen next, until they're introduced by their function by a server. Whereas the younger ones and the older ones, they immediately grab their food, touch the button, and send the robot back to the kitchen, which is very interesting in our case, because we never thought that those 2 groups will be so much easier for them than the groups that are in the 18 to 40 range. But at the end of the day, what it is really doing is giving the opportunity to maintain the restaurant open, because otherwise the alternative is obviously to close sections or close days in the restaurant. We had about 45 tables within the whole place, and we used to have 9 servers to support that area, and now we can do it with 1 server. Whereas preferably we want to have 3, but unfortunately it doesn't always happen, and we have to do what we do. So one thing is certain: the whole industry is changing. What is it going to look in 5 years? I have no clue. But what I do know, there's going to be ways of interacting in a restaurant. Either you have the fast service, in which everything is going to have to be automated, even the food making probably. Then you have the casual dining, where you're going to have very few because of the costs and the availability. And that's where all these systems become essential. And then you have the very high end where the whole experience is run by humans, and it will be very expensive price point per person, maybe in the $150 to $300 per person, where you can afford to have only humans if you can find them. But the great integrate this level of support for both the staff and the customer.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Taco, for that summary. You know, we hear about this in the media. I talk to with clients and prospects all day long. I want a human being here. What are the misconceptions? Tell me about, you know, your server's experience, you know, initially and currently.
Well, like with everything, I don't know why I've always experimented with new things, you know, starting from a POS in 1980, where everybody told me I was crazy to introduce that, and it was a total waste of time. And now try to find a server that can run an order without a POS. In 2001, we were the first ones in Dallas to put internet nodes at the bar and the booths, and everybody told me we were crazy, that who on earth will go to a restaurant and start surfing the net, that made absolutely no sense. And look at what's happening now. When we started doing contactless ordering, same thing. And when we started using the robots, the first challenge I had was my staff, because of different reasons. First, they saw them as a useless toy, that it was just gonna take space, where a restaurant is really, really tight. The corridors are very, very small. But one thing that gave me hope was I had never, ever experienced that technology. And this is, and believe me, I've played with everything that you can think of. I've never experienced a technology that starts working within 45 minutes of installation, ever. Not even my POS system. You go through a long period of tweaks and challenges, get it to the point you want, and even then it's not exactly what you want. But with these robots, the engineering team came, they mapped the location. Within 45 minutes, the robots started to deliver food, and they have not stopped ever since. And that was the first thing that everybody thought, this is going to be very difficult, it's going to be very cumbersome, it's going to be very challenging, and no one wants to look stupid, because you know, they make you look that you were expecting how challenging the installation was going to be. So these robots started to work immediately. The first thing I encountered was that the food expo had to obviously set up trays and start putting plates on those trays. Then this tray, it's very heavy. It's anywhere from 15 to 25 pounds. And then if you got to do that 30, 40, 60 times per shift, it puts a toll on your arm, and runners had issues with their shoulders and backs. So the first thing that would happen is that now that you had to put all the food in one robot, and it can handle, in our case, up to 8 guests per trip, whether you send to 2 different tables or whether you just send one large table, it can send the whole thing. So that first day, she didn't have to deal with any trays, nor the food runners and runners that we had before the robots came in. And the last one that we had issues and stopped really quickly. So now we were left just with an expo to run the entire food cycle. And had not had this robot, she would have quit too, because there was no way that she could handle doing all these trays by herself and assembling the trays. So one thing that immediately happened is that the time that it took her to put a tray together, now she was able to put up to 4 tables, launch 4 tables in the same period of time. So our speed of service quadrupled in efficiency, which in itself saved a lot of money. Then the next thing that happened that miraculously had never happened before, and I tried for 40 years to convince my servers that the food should be placed on the table by the server, not just by anybody, because inevitably people either made a mistake on what they ordered, they got the wrong thing, they wasn't sure what they were getting in, and the server would take a few minutes to show up back, And by then the customer was all pissed. I gave them incentives, I gave them threats, I gave them pep talks. I was never able to fix that, ever. I never found a way. Yet with this robot, since the server was always at the dining area, they immediately started placing the food themselves or being within seconds at a table to check that the food was correctly. I was flabbergasted because suddenly I found a solution that I never thought of a problem that I had for 40 years that I could never fix. Then the next thing that happened that blew my mind is that inevitably, 1 to 3 times a week, we will lose a tray that was on its way from the kitchen to the dining room, either by an error, by a mistake, or by the balancing of the tray, that once you put it on the stand and you're starting to deliver the food, if it is not properly pre-balanced, you take a dish and the whole tray will flip to the other side and get lost. And each one of those losses could be anywhere from $50 to $150 of food and plates that need to be replaced. Well, that thing stopped. We haven't lost one plate since we started in June of last year. That in itself paid for the robots 5 times, because, you know, $300 a week, that's $1,200 a month on lost food in China. That immediately the reaction of customers, once the robot comes to the table and they start interacting and they touch it and it jiggles and they feel like they're in really Back to the Future, and those areas themselves made a huge lamentation. And of course, the ones that were the first one to say this thing is never going to work, which were my servers, within 2 days, they could not perform without it.
You touch on something I just wanted to speak about. So I'm hearing a shift also. Yes, there is a labor shortage, but how can we offset and retain our staff? Are the robots helping retention?
Well, I don't know if they help retention, because nowadays it's very difficult. Unfortunately, most people that I talk to, what they want to do is have an open schedule to work whenever they want, for whatever many hours they want, for whenever days they want, and for as long as they want. And that's tough in the industry. However, having said that, the ones that are still working, it makes their life easier and much more profitable, because now sharing the tips between 2 servers instead of 6, my average server is making $100,000 to $150,000 a year, and that's working 4 days, which equates to about 6 to 8 shifts. And that is
call you after this.
Okay, but there is a lot of mopping to do because there's no busboys. We haven't found a busboy or a dishwasher in a year and a half. But let's put that aside. So the thing is that the one thing that we are contemplating now is micro shifts. And the reason why we think we may be able to do micro shifts is because if customers order themselves and servers don't need to immediately be experts on how to order and the products, then we could foreseeably hire people that come just for 1 of the 2 hours that we have the rush to assist the 1 or 2 servers that are there, pay them handsomely, you know, $50, $100 an hour, and then they can go home and not expect them to be on a schedule and do one of those flex platforms that allow people just to come for a small period of time. And that may be another way to tap into labor. But the reality is that less and less people want to serve, and more people wants to serve, because everybody wants convenience.
I think you speak about you know, the cost of living also. You know,
Yes.
Living paycheck to paycheck is infamous in this industry. So, you know, getting cash advances.
Exactly.
I remember those days. So hopefully, you know, getting a higher wage, getting more tips is offsetting those you know, those issues. Taco, let me touch on, you know, got a lot of restaurateurs out there. I'm sure we have some directors ops and GMs. What's some practical advice about adopting this technology?
Well, first of all, you do have to have a little patience. Second, you need to have 1 or 2 champions in your team that believes on technology, because it's not the same thing when your boss is telling you this has to work than when your colleague tells you let's make this work. It's a huge difference on energy and expectation and implementation. So you're not going to be able to convince everybody overnight, but if you can find the one individual that understands the vision and you use them as the seed to start converting everybody else, the whole process is a lot easier and there's a lot less friction. But at the end of the day, the technology proves itself. And that if you're lucky enough to have one individual like that, or your manager or owner is really into technology and is not afraid to see what the problem is and find the solutions to it. And the problems that you find are very, very, very simple. It's mostly on redirecting the flow of the traffic, or the location where the robot should stop and how it should stop, so that even if you move the table, it's still practical. And those things need a little tweaking here and there, but they're very, very minor compared to reprogramming your POS or adding items to your POS. This is much, much simpler. So if you're not the one with technology savvy, then find the one in your staff that will help you, reward them, and help them make this a success, because it will be a success. You know, there's two types of operators: the ones that are having troubles finding staff and helping their staff, and the ones that are lying to their teeth, because everybody's having troubles.
Absolutely agree with you on that. This has been very educational. As I told the audience, that this was going to be a very spirited conversation. You're very knowledgeable in deployment of these robotic solutions. Is there anything else that we've left behind that you'd like to address?
Well, let me tell you about this, because they may be asking what kind of robots and what am I using them for. Right now we have 5. We have 2 one that delivers food, one that delivers drinks. And the delivery of the drinks, that was an eye revelation, because, you know, there was a lot of spillage, there was a lot of confusion, and it took a long time sometimes to take a drink from the bar to the table, because no one was available to deliver the drink, especially with coffees. We have about 22 different espresso-based drinks on our menu, and if those are not in the table within a minute, they look dreadful. So they have to make it to the table as soon as they're finished. So this robot made it. Now, another thing that is important, and I'm sorry I'm jumping a little bit, you need to give them personalities. Don't make them treat them like a refrigerator. They're not. They are part of the service team. So we gave them names, we gave them personalities, we gave them attitudes, and we gave them stories, so that people could relate to them as part of the service, not just as a blender. Because even though they're a machine at the end of the day, they do create a interaction and a link to humans that a regular blender or your dishwasher will never do, even though the function is very simple, just bringing things here and there. So we have one for food that is called Panchita, in honor of one of our cooks. We have one that does the drinks, Alexita, in honor of one of our bartenders. We have Nacho, which is the guy who takes the dishes from the table to the dishwashing area. That has been incredibly helpful. We have another one, which is Fernanda, who takes silverware and water to the table, that is deployed by the hostess the minute that a table is assigned, and from the host stand deploys her to bring the silverware and the water glasses with ice. So sometimes they make it to the table faster than the host makes it with the customer to the table. And then we have Coqueta, which is the smartest of all of them, which is a Temi robot who interacts with customers, tell them stories, is the one who does sales, is the one who guides people, kind of like what you were talking about, Pepper, is not taking care of the wait list or the reservation list yet, but that one is the one that has the most promising on very smart activities, even though Puru does a great job in the functions that they have. So we have these 5 robots, and we only have a 3,000 square foot location, of which only 1,800 is dining and a patio of about 1,000. And we can manage it with these 5 guys in a very, very tight, because they interact with each other. And interestingly enough, they always give the right of way to the robot who's about to deliver, not the robot who just delivered. So now the biggest challenge that we have is to train staff to allow the robots to do their thing and not try to do it for them, because that delays the whole operation. That's right now our biggest challenge, because now that the servers get so used to the robots, they try to undercut them, and then that holds them for a few seconds or minutes until they get repositioned to finish their function.
Taco, you said that these robots are very smart, but sir, I believe you're the smartest of all of them.
Well, if I was smart, I probably wouldn't be in the restaurant business, but what's in your blood is in your blood.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Maria, I believe we have some questions.
Yes,
Could you tee those
of
up for
course.
us?
So
So
Taco,
just before going to the Q&A, sorry to interrupt you, Maria and Heather. I'm gonna be I'm gonna play the sales guy right now because Taco just talked about personality, and I really agree with you, Taco. It's extremely important, and this is such a great opportunity to use robots for brand awareness. So, as a matter of fact, for this webinar, we are offering a special offer to the attendees, and we are basically offering free branding for your robot. So I just put in there on the slide like a few examples of things that our custom design studio team created for our clients. But we can pretty much do anything we want on the robot in terms of like wrapping. It can be your logo, or it can be any type of like visuals. But I think it is pretty cool. And again, it's all about brand awareness. So imagine, when people are taking videos or pictures of your robot and tag your restaurant, you don't want your robot to look the competitor's robot, right? You want it to be unique. And I think that works actually pretty well. We have a really, really good feedback from our community. So I was excited to show you that today.
Well, I'm excited too, since you brought up the sales piece. If you follow me on LinkedIn, look for Heather Raish. I've got a special for this webinar as well. So go find me on LinkedIn. There's another special for you.
Many specials today.
There's a lot of specials.
All right.
Maria, could you?
all right, guys, after the sales pitch, Taco, there's a question right now in the Q&A section. It's an anonymous attendee who's asking, do you allow customers to take the plates off the robot?
That is a very good question. And it's always a challenge because in the one hand, when customers are for the first time interacting with the robots, they really don't know what to do with it. Once they do, they do it themselves. Now, we always put linens or some sort of device to help them if the plate is very hot. And we do have a little sign that says, please watch out, the plate may be extremely hot. But what happens is new customers won't touch them because they don't know what to do. But regular customers, they're already interacting and grabbing the plates themselves. You just have to be mindful about the temperature of the plate itself.
Thank you, Taco. Another one, any problem with kids around the robot, climbing on it, trying to touch it all the time?
Well, we encourage them to touch them because they interact with you, especially the Bella bot, that if you touch their ears or starts telling you to please stop, that they don't like their ears touched, but you can touch their head, and the kids love it. And interestingly enough, we haven't had, and of course this is going to happen today, any kids trying to climb on the robot. They're very respectful of the robots, sometimes even more than adults, because somehow they feel this immediate connection with technology and robotics, that they respect their space and their position, and they just embrace them almost like a pet. It's very, very interesting. So we haven't had that problem. I'm not saying it won't happen, but in our case, it hasn't happened, and we have a big kid element. We even have a kids menu, and of course, during brunch, the amount of kids that we have is tremendous, and they absolutely love. I mean, I've had even 9-month-old babies touching the button to send back the robot to the kitchen, and their faces just illuminate that you would not believe, and they are completely aware of what's going on, even though they can't talk.
Cute. Great.
Thank you, Taco. We have another one. Jimmy's asking, did you see a difference in your payroll expenses?
Huge difference. And it's not necessarily because of the robots, because we just don't have the people. But the thing is that what made a big difference, obviously, the robot immediately made obsolete the food runner position. Now we don't need a food runner. We haven't had a food runner in a year and a half. And that was on weekends, it was as much as 3 food runners, and during the week, at least 1. So if you do the math on those, just 3 days of those people paid for the least cost of the robot. So from that perspective, yes, it makes a huge difference. But more importantly, where it make a huge difference is on the income of everybody. And not everybody is in, sign on this plan, but we started charging a staff service fee when the pandemic came in, because most of our orders were takeout and no one was leaving a tip for to go and takeout. So I was losing servers like flies. So we had to come out with an alternative, which is a mandatory 10% on takeout orders and a mandatory 20% on dine-in. And this percentage is being divided by the entire staff, not just the servers, but the entire staff. And what that did is that our regulars tip on top of that. So it's not unheard of to have a table that would leave 30, sometimes even 40% between tip and service fee. And that has allowed us to increase the income of the kitchen substantially, because a portion of the service fee goes to the kitchen, not the tips. The tips go straight to the service staff. But the fee that we charge, we divided between the hostess, the bartender, the managers, the kitchen. Everybody gets a little of it, even though the majority goes to the service staff. A portion goes to the kitchen, and it makes a big difference. It could make as much as $4 or $5 an hour per kitchen member. And the beauty of it is that increases as the volume of the restaurant and the hard work increases, and decreases as the restaurant is slower. And therefore, I don't have the additional burden of meeting the payroll if no one showed up, because our base is a little lower, but with the tips or the fees that we distribute, it makes a huge difference. And because we need less staff, everybody's making more money.
Thank you, Taco. We have another one. Juan is asking, do you think robots could work in all restaurant concepts?
Yes, they can. The thing is with different functions. Even in a high-end restaurant, if you were to find a specific function that would make sense in your restaurants, it could. Obviously, on fine dining, you would expect more of the humans, but even those could benefit with certain activities that the robots can help. Maybe not as much as fast casual or casual dining, that will definitely see the huge support of it. But having been in both sides of the spectrum, and as you know, when you are in the fast casual or fast food industry, you think that you should be on the full service because you're going to make the same amount of money for the same 10 times the amount of money for the same amount of work. And when you're in the full service, you want to be in the fast casual because you don't want to deal with all the people and all the headaches, and you think they're going to make more money with less people. It's the same on both sides. The same issues, just in a different perspective, but it's the same issues. Therefore, it can help in every single operation, but you need somebody to help you identify the functions that make sense, because a lot of functions, you may think make sense to you, but they're not practical or cost effective. And that's when you need somebody who has experience.
Somebody like RobotLAB, exactly.
Yeah.
For an instance, yeah,
I
that
was
could
going
be
to
one.
say that. Specifically,
but you know,
RobotLAB.
it's important because I mean, Taco, you just touched on the based on the the functionalities and the use cases, but another aspect of it is about the layout of the restaurants. And obviously restaurants are very different. You can have restaurants that are smaller in size and narrow areas to navigate in. So this is also why it's important for us to have a good understanding of the layout of your restaurant before we can come up with a recommendation, because obviously we have different models, as I was mentioning, with different sizes, okay, with robots that need maybe less room to navigate around. And this is also obviously very important.
Thank you, Cedric and Taco. We have one in the chat. You mentioned, Taco, the changes to the process at the expo. Any other changes needed to accommodate the robots?
Well, you do need to find out where the stations are going to be, because certain robots really need to make it back to the kitchen and the bar, but some other ones need to be in a different area to be faster the service to customers or the faster the support from a server. So that you need to spend some time, and don't be disappointed if your first choice didn't work. It's okay. You just play with where to put them and how to put them, and you eventually will present itself the best option. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work from the beginning, because it will work. It's just that it will be even more efficient and more effective as you get familiarized with the flow of the restaurant and the timing. We haven't had the problems with the charging, because we leave it charging overnight and it lasts us the entire breakfast, lunch, and dinner shifts without any problems. The only have problems is somebody forgot to charge it, but I believe the new versions even have self-charging stations where the robots will go and charge themselves. So, you know, even that could be addressed.
Thank you. We have one more. Joanna is asking if you're planning to implement more robots.
Absolutely. We are not just this kind of robots, but robots in every possible aspect. We've been talking with different companies to do robotic delivery in a 2 to 5 mile radius. Unfortunately, in Dallas, it's been a challenge to find a company who's ready to do it in the Dallas market. They only do it in colleges and closed environments. But that's one thing that we really need to, because we have way too many problems with the delivery companies of the world, the Ubers, between the cost, the quality of the product, the grazing, the orders not making it. It is a nightmare. So that's one area that we really want to do. If possible, even do drone delivery for drinks and smaller orders when allowed. We are also already testing a robotic barista that can make all of our coffee drinks through a very automated machine that can work with milk and alternative milks. And in that way, help the bartender, because sometimes the barista doesn't show up and we do a heavy volume on coffees and it's hard for one person to do the coffee and to do the cocktails, because they're all craft cocktails that are laborious. So we're looking into that and we're already testing it. We're using smart vending equipment, so that, because we do a heavy sweets and baked goods program, and of course that takes a long time to find somebody to charge you for the cookies and the cakes and the sweets. So we have smart vending that can help people serve themselves, and that has been extremely successful. And now we're talking and looking into robotics to help us with the kitchen functions and even server functions, like the rolling of silverware and cleaning and polishing glasses and silverware, and some other functions that may benefit from robotic applications. So yes, and there's one thing that I can't wait to have that I think is going to revolutionize everything again, is when humanoids are actually cost effective and fully functional to work in an environment like a restaurant. When you get a robot that has full dexterity in their hands and can actually deliver things, pick up things, take your order and interact with you, the hospitality world is going to be another one. And I believe that's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, or at least start.
Taco, thank you so much. We're just running out of time. We have just somebody saying, thank you, Taco. We love your vision from Durham, North Carolina.
Hey, you're all free to call me whenever you want. It's Laduni at laduni.com.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Cedric. Thank you, Heather. We had more questions, but we'll send them out to you, and maybe you can, answer them, and then I'll share them. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining.
See you.
My pleasure.
So
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.